Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out! Oh my God! KO in midair!
Hey, what's up everyone? And we're back. This time looking at the one you've probably been waiting for the most, and that is the UDES 1516, which is the tier 10 Swedish medium. That's kind of the end goal, obviously, for everybody. So, what are you getting when you get this tank? Well, it's similar to the playstyle of the tier 9. Tier 8 sort of as well, you know, kind of goes with the line of having that pneumatic suspension system that allows you to decrease the gun up to 13 degrees, as well as elevate it 25. That's the unique feature of the tank overall, and the whole tank line. But is this thing worth it? We'll talk about it later. We'll see. But what are you getting with this tank? So you're getting something, like I said, has that unique feature. There's it has the tier 10 has a 440 alpha gun with APCR as a standard, which has, I believe, 252 millimeters of pen, which is alright. It's not that great for medium tank standards. And then the heat is 310 millimeters of penetration, which is also kind of low. But it is still more than the Swedish heavies penetration, so it's a little better than that. But yeah, you're looking at a 440 alpha gun, which is nice. Kind of makes up for it a little bit, the fact that the DPM is only sitting around 2200 something. But the reload is very similar to the Object 430U, very similar. But very different play styles. 430U's armor is more usable in more situations, personally. But this tank does the haul down thing probably better most of the time. At least it should. So it does have that going for it, and the alpha does help that, yeah, the DPM's low, but you can still trade fairly well. I don't want to say trade your health, but you can still smack enemies pretty, some pretty big damage rolls, which is nice. Like that 466. So if you do pen every shot, it's not too bad, but if you start bouncing shots, the DPM goes way down on it, so bear that in mind when you're playing it. Just be aware that if you miss shots, you're gonna see a big drop off in what you're able to do. So yeah, I will say with the 440 alpha, on our version, this tank only has 0.38 accuracy, which kind of defeats a little bit of the purpose of you have this kind of sneaky platform to sit at long range. You don't really want to be at long range. I usually am at between maybe 200 to 400 meters in this tank is where the sweet spot is. It's still, the gun is going to be derpy. Just an unfortunate side effect of this, but it's alright. I've gotten kind of used to it. It's a little hilarious. I mean, it's still accurate enough to do stuff like that. If you want to poke on me, that's all good. I'll take that. But like I said, I haven't had too much of an issue with the gun too much. I just don't expect it to hit like crazy shots. It's just not something I expect to happen. I don't expect to be sniping like E100 bars at 400 meters. It's just not the case. And you're kind of going with that mindset. It's a little more forgiving. Not everything is going to have super accurate gun. I wish it had the 0.35 accuracy. It doesn't really make sense that it's less accurate than the tier 9, but I'm not really here to complain about the nerfs. We all know I really should understand. I don't understand them, but you know, whatever. So I'm just trying to what the tank is like, and I've been thoroughly enjoying it, to be fair. I don't know why. Totally. Maybe because it kind of plays like a light, but not, like I said, the tier 8. It's more of the positioning kind of side of the light tank class. However, you're not going to be circling stuff in this thing very well. It's not really a good idea at all. But it's a lot more in that sneaky kind of, yeah, way. But yeah, you see the gun's beefy, but it doesn't have good accuracy, which is fair. I should also say it's 2.2 second aim time, same as the top gun on the tier 9 as well. So you see this game so far, we've racked up 3,600, and that's kind of the way the bigger games in this tank, you're going to have longer games kind of to draw out and get more damage. And you see we're able to bounce a couple shots. As long as we're using the gun depression here, we're okay. But if we go flat, we're going to have issues. And speaking of the armor, so this one's the most heavily armored of any of them, which is nice. I think you can bounce stuff up to 150 millimeters gun-wise if you're using the full extent of the gun depression, and nothing's really going to have too much of an effect on you pending-wise if you're using the full siege mode mechanic over a hill. You should be fairly safe. Take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, you can always have weird stuff happen. I've done some crazy stuff pen-wise, but you should be fairly safe from 150 millimeters and down caliber guns when using the gun depression. So that's nice. I've definitely utilized the gun depression to bounce quite consistently some bigger guns even. I know I had a game on Himmelsdorf where I was able to just peek the ridgeline on top of the hill very, very well, and I was basically immune to 3 tank shoot ammo, which were like an IS-7, an Optic 257, and a Waffle 4. And I was just using the full extent of the gun depression, and they were not able to touch me basically. They just kept bouncing. So it's pretty fun in that regard, but it's kind of a one-trick pony tank to an extent. It does have that, and it is kind of gimmicky. But it's kind of a fun gimmick when it works, I must say, because you can just sit there. You're not immune, but you're pretty invulnerable. It's almost it's pretty cool. And like I said, I don't mind having a little less DPM and with the 440 alpha. That's it, and it's really not much different from the 430U reload wise. So if you're worried about that, it's not too bad. At least I've found out, but that may vary on your opinion, I guess. But overall, what do I think of this thing? Is it worth it? It kind of depends. If you're looking for the best tier 10 medium, then no. Even if you're looking for the best tank with 430 or 440 alpha, I'd still say no. Probably the the 430U is probably more reliable, especially with the map rotation we kind of have. This thing would be better if we had the map rotation for the last update or the second last update. However, at the moment, it's a little more tricky getting the right maps and everything to line up with this thing. So, I said this game we racked up 6k damage, but do I think it's worth it for the average person to get this? Maybe not. But for me, at this point in the game, I'm something very close on the streams, but I'm kind of bored of playing the same tanks over and over and over again. Honestly, so this was just a nice change of pace to have something new to play, and a little refreshing. I said it may be kind of gimmicky, and the fact that it's a ridgeline warrior to an extent. However, I'm fine with that because it's a gimmick I can kind of play with and play the game a little differently. But again, if you're looking for the best tier 10 medium, this isn't it. Not even close. Do I think it's the worst? No, that goes probably to the Object 907, but or the K91. But yeah. Another kind of negative that I've come across in this tank is the shape of it, and it's frustrated me a couple times, is you can actually get stuck on hills, which is annoying, very much so, and just because it's like a wedge shape, you can actually find yourself getting stuck, actually fairly easily in this thing, so just a word to the wise, being careful with that, at least from what my experience in the past few days playing it, it's happened maybe 4 times. And the tank's just gotten stuck on a hill, wedged in there, and I get murdered, basically. So just be kind of aware of that. when you're going across terrain. It's something to kind of think about. You don't want to just fly around all, I guess, let's go with this willy-nilly, and just, yeah, you can find yourself the shit out of luck very quickly. So, yeah. And how does it do in a brawl? Well, we'll see here in a second. This isn't going to go too well. He hits our hitboxes, which don't count as hitboxes. Those two things sticking out of the back of our tanks. Those don't count as damaging spots, so that is quite helpful. And now, we don't want to be in a circle fight in this thing, but the traverse speed is good enough to where we can just kind of back up. That's the good thing. He can't really circle us in this, but he can pen us like that. And this is kind of an issue because on flat ground we're not going to be able to bounce him very consistently. But if you do angle and change the the angle I guess that he's shooting at you, you can get some bounces still even on flat ground. But don't expect it necessarily. Because again, the armor's good when it's being angled correctly. It's not awful on flat ground, but it's very thin. Regardless, so it's only 100 millimeters thick on the turret, and I can't quite recall. I think it's 50 millimeters on the hull, but it's sloped so far back that it's pretty impervious to most things when used correctly. But yeah, a very solid game in this tank. It's most damage I've done so far in it, which is 7k right there. So very nice game. I don't know if I'll ever beat this. Maybe I will. I think you just have to have, like I said, very long, drawn-out games overall. But the next one's on Proc, which is pretty, decent map for this tank. A lot better than Scorpion Pass, and we can work the ridge lines hopefully a lot better without getting pooped on by artillery. But yeah. But overall, I'm enjoying it. And again, if you're looking for something just new and refreshing to play, I don't totally disagree getting this thing. It's still fairly viable. I haven't struggled in it too much. Again, I always say a grain of salt because I can make stuff look better than it actually is. There is a slight annoying thing with the siege mode mechanic in this that is kind of been an issue for some people. I haven't had too much of a problem with it. I don't know why it doesn't annoy me, but when you deploy into the siege mode going over a hill, it kind of bounces the gun up a little bit, which is annoying for some. I haven't really, I noticed it a little bit, but it doesn't bother me that much for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, that's a little thing to keep in mind. But yeah, overall, decent tank, and let's see what we can do on a really good map for it, such as Proc. So we can see the gun depression coming into play here, and we were able to peek the ridge without exposing almost any of our tank, and we're going to stay pretty much unspotted here. Unfortunately, when he starts turning like this, even when we aim at the weak spot on the side, that's going to bounce. Again, only 252 millimeters of pen, so that's all orange, and it's not going to work very well. So just to keep that in mind. And I really don't want to get hit by artillery in this thing, as I mentioned in the other two, just for the simple fact that it's a big flat square target from above. If it already hits you, it's going to probably pen you, so that's an issue. Also, on the subject of module damage for this tank is the fact that the engine is at the front, and while it says on the wiki page for the tank that it's only 10% chance of fire, that's very deceiving, simply because the engine is in the front of the tank, and I've gotten set on fire several times in it. So using rations is kind of debatable. If you want to be a little safer, just use the like a fire extinguisher or such, but that's up to you. And again, I guess equipment's the same as the last two. It's gun rammer, optics, and vents. I didn't use vert zaps again because I don't really want to be circling and stuff like that in this. It's not really my jam to be. As this turtle decides to, I don't know, just throw his entire tank away for some reason. 3 minutes in. and gives us 2 free shots of damage, which is nice. Nice of him. So this game's playing out sort of strange, or beneficial to us. Most of their team has gone to the hill, and their light tank is now dead, which is great because that means I'm more confident RV range is superior to everything else on their team, and we can abuse that hopefully. And right now we're just poking some blind shots and hacking and shooting guys out of render range, so it's all good. So our damage total is actually more than it really is at the moment. So at about I think 900 damage with that, possibly. So we'll see. And at this point I'm like, okay, where can we start explaining? We see the Panzer 7s in the open, ready to use the gun depression again and take him out. And right now all I'm thinking is, well, okay, the T-95 is the only one left over here, right? I mean, pretty sure. I'm going to guess the Death Star is on their bridge, their Badger's on the bridge, by their spawn. So if I can take out this T-95 without getting taking any damage or anything and push down the one line, we can really abuse the mechanics of this tank with the good camo and re-range and such, and gun depression, and really just work them from behind and kind of work up behind them. So we're already on our 4th kill, which is nice. This game is still 10 enemy tanks left at this point, so we're up for a big game, either kill wise and damage wise. We've already racked up 3,600 damage as well. A little bit of assisted. I haven't really got that much assisted in this tank overall. Just I don't find myself at the front lines too much in it. This is one of the few maps that I would play it like that. Most of the time I'm not really going to be up front brawling with people. That's not really the intended purpose of this tank, or not brawling, but being at the front line spotting. Just because again it can take damage fairly easily if you don't put it into the right position, or if artillery finds itself towards you. So I tend to avoid playing directly in the front lines in this thing. I'm not saying that's not always the right idea. Sometimes I've been at the front brawling. It's very dependent, but most of the time I would recommend more around that 200 to 300 meter kind of distance, maybe 300 to 400. But then you're going to have some issues with the gun accuracy wise depending on what you're shooting at. If it's squishy, you're probably okay, but if it has a little bit of armor, then you may either have to just pray that it hits the weak spot or load some heat and hope for the best. And sure enough, this game, my prediction was right. We killed the T-95 and there's nothing over here. A little risky, but it should win us the game if we can start taking the guys out over behind us over here. We do spot the Patton pushing over. He does spot us, and unfortunately we don't do any damage to him. We just damage his tracks, which is always just so wonderful. But he's pushing us, and we're just going to start acting like we're running away. And then I do have support, so then I'm going to double back, and hopefully they start trying to push up towards my teammates, and I can put shots back into their rear. And again, just making sure I'm the least predictable as possible. And just setting up crossfire, which this thing is great for taking advantage of people that are not being really aware, because you can just punish them with the 440 Alpha, which is super nice. I do like the big guns. It's fun to just smack people for that much damage. I've gotten a couple of 500 damage rolls several games, and that's always really enjoyable. Just to smack somebody for 500 damage in a medium tank. It's a lot more enjoyable than hitting for like 300 in the Russian mediums. Granted, they will have more DPM, but I don't always find myself using all the DPM. Sometimes it's fairly apparent. It's completely apparent, and it would totally help to have more DPM. But there's also situations where I don't use the DPM, and I can easily wait that time out and still make this tank work very well, regardless of the lack of DPM overall. But yeah, and right now we're just going to be super aggressive. Pray the Death Star's not there. I know it's the Badger, and then just dip down and get out of his line of sight. And again, we should be able to outspot him and stay below his gun, and we should also be able to actually bounce him if we use these ridgelines correctly, which is a positive. Here I move up a little bit quicker. I could have actually just gone to my left here and got a shot on him, but I was just being lazy or something or another. So instead we're going to move up a little further. We have the heat loaded now, because I know I'm not going to really be able to pen him frontally from there. And here we get really lazy. Well, I try to pull behind the bush just to get unspotted, but for some reason we don't. Maybe the front of my tank was sticking out of the bush, something. But we do get spotted, and he does hit us in return. But now we have these two trees, and we're just going to pull back, spot him up, and then pull forward, and hopefully hit that lower plate. But unfortunately it hits high. Again, the accuracy kind of rearing its ugly head here. But he doesn't look like he's moving. See if we can put a blind shot in. But unfortunately I think somebody else is shooting HE at him, so it's actually making him back off. It's just kind of unfortunate for us. We try to put one in as he turns, but it doesn't go in. It's not too surprising, but we've made him back off. And now I'm going to try to go up and see if I can't spot what's capping right now. I believe it's the Death Star. Yeah, sure it is. And see if we can't put some shots into him as well. Still being aware of the arty, because again, this thing's very weak to high explosive rounds, especially fired from those things. So just being aware. And you see a little bit of the bounce, but it doesn't really bother me. I don't know. It's not a huge deal. But I don't know. Some others it is, and I can totally understand why. It's completely understandable. Do I think this entire line, how hard was it to grind? I don't know, because I don't have the experience. They were playing them stock. And then we actually take a shot from the arty, who I thought at this time was in the bushes to the left of the train tracks on the side I am right now. So we're going to waste some ammo here and just start shooting into the bushes. I'm fairly confident that even with 12 heat rounds, we're going to be fine. So I'm just going to fire the APCR and HE into the bushes just to see if he was there. Spoiler, he's not there. I'm just an idiot. So, yeah. But overall, this tank line it was interesting, at least. Like I said, it was just different. And if you're looking for that, it's not bad. It's just for something different to play. But for either a serious medium or something with full 40 alpha, I'd recommend other things. Literally every other medium prior to 440 alpha I would recommend over this. I don't really know about the 121, but yeah. But yeah, it's kind of gimmicky. But it does that gimmick fairly well. So yeah, if you like that, it's cool. But what I don't understand, what I don't foresee, is me playing this too much after this. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. I've been having fun in it, but I don't know if that's just because it's new and something fresh to play, or if I'm actually going to consider keep playing it after that kind of wears off. And as you see, we find out I'm still an idiot, even though I saw the arty just fire from the other side of the railroad tracks. But it's all good. And we're able to poke over their ledge line with the HE, and yeah, where you don't aim like a fool, so we don't pen him. Yeah, folks, just aim. But we're gonna take him out right now. And then in a surprising turn of events, the Death Star is on the hill and misses me, thankfully. Otherwise that would have been a very, very abrupt end to the game. But I was like, how the hell did he get on the hill at this point? I was like, there's no way. And I don't actually aim in time to snapshot. All my TDs and one heavy are not going to be fast enough to get there, or they don't want to rush up there, which is completely fair. It'd be kind of awkward for them to do with a Death Star, but we're actually going to be in a really good tank to deal with him, because we should be able to get the gun depression to shoot him before he can even shoot us, which is really nice because of how tall the Death Star is. So we're gonna see if we can put that to work right here and finish off the game, and hopefully pick up our 8th kill and our first Radley Walters in the UDES 15-16, and to see if we can do it. We have no arty, which is nice, actually, so he can't steal the kill. And we're just going to back up, and luckily he was looking the other way, and we're going to put one into him and just kind of run away a little bit and see if we can't get back into position here. I don't want to go too far, I don't want to get in his gun, and sure enough, he can't shoot us, but we can easily shoot him with the gun depression we have, which is really nice. I like that kind of stuff. With this, I don't have to expose my tank to his, and we're able to take him off the board and finish the game out with 64 or maybe 60, yeah, 6,400 damage, 1,200 assisted, and a Radley Walters, and our first mark of excellence. Actually got another Radley's in this tank last night as well, but that game was only like 3,400 damage, and yeah, I was just securing the kills on Icebound. But yeah, I hope this kind of helps give you an idea of what the tank is like, what I think about it. Again, take it with a grain of salt. I know I can make tanks look better than they are. But overall, I've enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the games. They were fun. And I will hopefully guys catch you next time with some light tank gameplays. See you later. Peace. Pickles.